is my 5 a.m. alarm. Now for most people, that's the part where you negotiate with yourself. Just 5 more minutes. But not me, because I had a mission. And for the past 2 years, that mission has been trying to become a perfect student. It's a fun, relaxing hobby I don't recommend to anyone. But at first, it felt easy. Work harder, aim higher. But somewhere along the way, you stop chasing grades and start chasing a voice in your head that's truly never satisfied. I've been to many university days, info days, you name it. And everywhere I go, students seem to ask the same question. What do I need to do to get in? And the answers are loud. Get the score, build a resume, be impressive. But the problem is, the world can't even agree on what impressive means. In China, the answer is starkly simple. The Gaokao. One test. Your score is your worth. Some other places, however, seem to want the full package. Your grades, your extracurriculars, and even maybe a cure for cancer. Where I dream of studying, I started noticing a pattern. Hit that minimum score, or you don't even get a chance for an interview where you can charm them with your dazzling personality. So I felt this pull to conform. I looked at my dream school's definition of a perfect student and thought, I can do that. How hard can it be? Famous last words. What I didn't realize then was how easily this definition would start shaping all of my choices. So I made sacrifices. I gave up ballet, something I've done since I was 5, a whole 10 years of my life. I quit volleyball, a sport that gave me my happiest memories and closest friends. I stopped attending MUN after 5 years of pulling all-nighters to write position papers and resolutions. I went from arguing for countries that weren't even my own to debating if I should have another cup of coffee at 2 a.m. I thought I was just making room for what mattered. But the room I created didn't fill up with purpose. It just got very, very quiet. My weeks, which used to have a rhythm, practices, games, meetings, conferences, flattened out. All that was left was school, study, homework, review. School, study, homework, review. A perfect loop. A perfect, silent loop. I was replacing my own identity with a university's definition of a perfect student. A perfect score on a page. I was becoming someone I didn't even recognize anymore. And for a while, I convinced myself that this was just a strategy, a necessary pragmatic sacrifice on the path to my dream. This is for my future, I thought. This is the life I chose. But this wasn't the life I wanted. This was the life I was supposed to want. And you can't wall off parts of yourself forever. It was seeing a photo of a ballet recital I wasn't a part of. And not feeling jealousy, just a deep ache in my stomach. It was hearing that my old team had won a tournament in the group chat, and even before I felt happy for them, I felt the memory of my own sore legs after a game, my own hoarse throat after cheering. I realized that my congrats felt hollow, like I was a fan and not family. I was watching someone else give a speech on a topic that I used to care about, and thinking, I used to know how to do that. So what was my brilliant response? I doubled down. The emptier I felt, the harder I worked, because I thought productivity could fill a hole that meaning had left behind. I figured if I just got busier, the feeling would go away. But you can't outrun a feeling. One night, scrolling in the dark, completely ruining my eyesight, a quiet voice I've been buried under textbooks and highlighters finally broke through. Did I make the right choice? Where was the girl who loved to move, the girl who thrived in a crowd, the girl who lit up at the start of every debate? Where had she gone? I wasn't just losing my passions, I was losing the spark that they gave me. I was done tracing a perfect student's resume. I just wanted my own vibrant, messy life back. And that was the turning point. That's when I realized this was much more than just a strategy. What I was experiencing was just a primal human instinct to conform. We do it to fit in, to feel accepted. My caveman brain was just trying to survive. But I wasn't just hearing those external voices. I was becoming them. I had absorbed them like a sponge until they sounded like my own thoughts. Because the truth is, an external voice over time becomes your identity. For me, that label was perfect student. The pressure to hit those scores stopped feeling like something the world wanted. It felt like something I wanted. I was the one setting the 5 a.m. alarm. I was the one saying not enough. I was both the straight coach and the exhausted athlete. And let me tell you, that's a deeply unhappy and inefficient way to run things. Yet, we still see this everywhere. You tell a kid they're the shy one, and they'll make sure to never speak up. You tell a kid that they're the class clown, and they'll feel the pressure to crack a joke, even if they don't feel like it. All of those labels sound harmless. Mine did too. Perfect student. It sounded like a compliment, until it felt more like an expectation. Because I thought this label meant that my only job was to get those grades. So I edited out everything else to live up to that part. I was conforming to an ideal, and in that process, I was slowly erasing the parts of me that made life, life. Because the terrifying truth is this: we often become the mirror image of other people's expectations. We work so hard to maintain the figure and identity that the world has reflected back on us, inflicting that pressure on ourselves to live up or live down to the labels we've been given, even long after the world has stopped asking. So if our inner minds can be so easily influenced and infiltrated, what's the way out? Do we have to become hermits and reject every outside opinion? No. The answer isn't to silence the world. It's to change our relationship with it. The solution is to become the curator of your own mind. Okay, stick with me. Imagine your mind is like an art gallery. But for years, I wasn't the curator. I was just the night janitor, sweeping up while letting anyone, every fear, every comparison, every brochure, come in and hang whatever they wanted on my walls. There was a big, ugly poster from some university website that just said, scores. There was a shaking crayon drawing from my own anxiety called, what if I fail? There was a loud, abstract piece from social media called, everyone else is succeeding. My gallery was a mess. It was depressing, and none of it felt like mine. But a curator's job isn't to set the place on fire. It's to look at each and every piece and decide which ones to display, which ones to reinterpret, and which ones to store away. And I learned this can be done in 2 simple steps. First, you audit. Listen to your self-talk with a new level of attention. When anxiety hissed, skip that birthday party to study, I paused and asked, is that my voice? Or is that the voice of an admissions brochure, a relative, or a competitive classmate? Just by naming the voice, I could separate it from my own identity. I could take it off the wall. And that's the audit, identifying the source of the noise. Second, you acquire. Actively choose what gets to go on your walls. This means internalizing the voices that align with who you want to become. Let me show you what I mean. My best friend was giving me a ride home on her scooter. She was leaving for an MUN conference the next day, the kind that we used to do together. And as I got off, I felt that familiar, hollow ache in my stomach because I just wasn't part of it anymore. And as I handed back her helmet, I asked, half jokingly, "Are you gonna miss me?" And I braced for the eye roll, for that "it's just 3 days, drama queen." But she didn't say that. Instead, she stopped, looked right at me, and replied, "Yeah, actually, I will." It was so simple, so quiet. Yet in that moment on the sidewalk, all the noise fell away. Because in her eyes, I wasn't a score, I wasn't a resume. I was someone that she would miss. And I chose to take that one line, that tiny proof that I mattered beyond my achievements, hung it up, and called it, "I'm needed." And that's acquisition, choosing the pieces and giving them a place of honor. And those 2 steps, audit and acquire, are the 2 tools I use to rebuild my entire gallery. I looked at the main exhibit, let's call it the grind, and realized the only visitor, me, hated it. It was getting terrible reviews from my own soul. So I started building a new wing. First, I audited. I took down a big boring painting called "Your Hobbies Are Distraction," and then I acquired. I put up a new vibrant one. I called it Artistic Swimming. Because I missed the water and I missed my body knowing how to move. And finally, I found a fragile little sketch I hid in the back, the one titled My Voice. And I moved it to the very center of the main hall. And that sketch turned into this talk. I'm not just absorbing noise anymore. I'm not just a janitor guarding storage. I am the curator. And every single day, I am the one that gets to decide what goes on the exhibition of who I am and who I want to become. So you're not just burning down the gallery. You're just finally deciding what gets to go on your walls. You can't stop people from handing you their opinions like brochures, but you do have 100% control over which ones you internalize and repeat. Because the most important conversation you have every day is with your teachers, your friends, or even your parents. It's the one in your head. So make sure you're the one leading it. Your mind is your gallery. You are the curator. That means you get to choose what defines you, what influences you, and what gets to stay on display. The world doesn't get a final say on you, what you are, you do. So start today. Walk into your gallery, look at one anxious thought on the wall, and ask, who donated this? Then, find one good true thing someone has said about you. Maybe it's old, maybe you've forgotten about it, and put that up instead. The exhibition of you isn't coming soon. It's already opened. It's time to pick up the pen, write your own labels, and finally curate what deserves to be seen. Your gallery is waiting. Thank you.